Hello and welcome to Property Question Time. My name's Stephen Galpin and this is the programme where you can have your property related questions answered by our team of property experts. Now joining me today are Singh, founder and CEO of RentiD. Welcome to you. Hope you had a good trip in. And Kam Dovedi, investor and founder of Premier Property. Welcome to you too.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good. Well, very pleased to see you both here. Now, we're going to go to Dev first of all. Your first question is, what are the qualities and tests one should look for when selecting a letting agent as a new buy-to-let landlord? It seems to me any buy-to-let investor needs a good agent to be successful. I'm not sure you're going to agree with this, are you? Any advice would be welcome.
Well, I absolutely don't agree. First off, if you're getting into buy-to-let, always an advocate, educate yourself in respect to what you're buying. It's an investment, what you're looking for a return. Why would you turn to an external party without understanding what your responsibilities, your rights are, what you're looking at as a long-term return on investment? Is it a pension? Whatever you're planning to get involved. The agent should be the last thing, and the agent should be, not because there aren't some very good agents out there, I'm not saying that by any means, but you must know what you need an agent for so they can fill that gap. Is it a knowledge gap? Is it a convenience factor? I would always personally say there is plenty of solutions out there, including training courses for landlords, training courses for investors, software, and there is software out there which goes above and beyond standard software. If you're a bit worried about, it's just a solution, look for something that's a bit more of a solution. Look for something that has assistance and expertise in the background. Look for something that gives you that sort of solution, the hybrid solution, should I say. So an agent, of course, is there, and by no means should you not be looking for someone, and you should make sure that they're client money protection, referrals, look them up, make sure that they've got good ratings. But just be aware that that could be not the truth. It could be certain information that's been put on there on purpose. Unfortunately, the industry has a lot of that going around where referrals and ratings are not exactly accurate. So I would not say choose an agent by any means. I would always say, let's see how much you can do yourself, educate the bits that you can't do, and then look for a solution otherwise. And normally you're going to find that in a software solution, especially now in this day and age.
Okay, one of the things that just occurs to me, and I've sort of had this dilemma myself over the years, is fine. I accept often software can replace various disciplines and skills, but without buying it, how on earth do you know how effective it really, really is?
Agreed.
I mean, when you look at the brochures, I mean, they're all encompassing, they'll do everything. But it's not always the practice, is it?
I'll tell you
how do you judge it?
I'll tell you how you judge it. You simply look at the team behind it. Okay, so you can buy a software package, as you said. You could spend thousands of pounds on a software package. I'm sure Cam may have done it in previous. I've done it, only for it to turn out to be over complex. You need to almost be a trained accountant or in a different business to be able to use the software in the first place. Then you're out of pocket. Then you're stuck again. Look for the team and the reasons that it's been built in the first place, and look for their experience. It's the same way you'd go to an estate agency or letting agency and look for the experience they bring together. The difference is, when you're looking at a cash flow element, you're looking at a software being able to do something for you for a % or for a tenth of what another agency would be able to charge. And remember, they're charging those fees because they have overheads and they need to cover those overheads. Sure. For you should not be paying for something you aren't absolutely crystal clear on. I'm not saying that you can't. If you're comfortable and you want to pay 10%, 15%, 20%, that's your business. But when you've got software out there which has a team behind it backed up, and you have solutions out there that do most of the job, you buy in services which are the knowledge gap or the experience that you don't have, and they equate to 3.5%, 4% of your income or the rental income, there's no way you shouldn't be doing that. As a software, as you said, yeah, sure, you might go wrong with just a software provider,
I think it's the problem. It's the king's clothes sort of syndrome, isn't it? You know, when you're listening to the salesman and you don't really want to admit you don't quite understand what he's talking about. So I think I would guess training is a critical part of that, isn't it?
Yeah. The training, and as I said, make sure that what the solution you're buying, what it was created for, because the software is still a software. You could be buying something which is a accountancy package which just has a management something bolted on at the front. That's not going to work for you. You're going to spend money on that. But it's the same way as choosing the wrong agent. You'll get roped into a contract, end up giving a portion of your rental away, and they're not doing much for it.
Right. So, Kam, have you had experience of this over the years? I'm sure you have.
Yes. Some would say lots of experience. I would say some experience, for sure. So, my view, so answering your question about letting agents, I would say it depends. It really does depend. Depends on where you are in your journey. So if you've got, let's say, between 1 to 10 properties, less than 10 properties, then I would definitely advocate having a letting agent. Because with the letting agent, what you're actually doing is you're delegating that task to a professional, and of course you've got to get the right ones. So the right ones meaning, absolutely making sure that they've got accreditations. Dev's just touched upon that. Making sure that they're part of a redress scheme. One of them being the property ombudsman, for example. Also making sure they've got accreditations, so which is the next level. They're not mandatory, but they're discretionary. However, it shows someone who's really good at what they do. So such as, for example, NALS or ALA, for example, having these accreditations that a letting agent has shows their professionalism. And also the letting agents that we deal with, we always look for people, to be fair, like us, where what they've done is they've built up a portfolio organically. They've got hundreds of properties, and now what they've decided to do is bolt on a letting agency, and then the letting agency becomes a business in itself. They tend to have, people like us, they tend to have a lot of experience. They're speaking, in terms of what they're actually doing. They have very, very detailed local knowledge. They also have, if you think about it, all the tradespeople that you need as well. So you can really use a letting agent to become a sort of a one-stop shop to help you as a property investor.
A hub for your business.
A hub is a very good word to use. Yeah, absolutely becomes a hub.
One of the things I just wanted to ask you there was, though, is about the geography. I know you do a lot of mentoring, Kam. So what would your advice be in terms of geography? Would you want to have a new investor keep local so that he can physically see what's going on with his properties, or would you recommend the sort of wider net, perhaps going further north from London?
So in my experience, we have areas which are far away from where we actually live, but the letting agent, like I was sharing earlier, becomes that hub where you can actually manage the letting agent. So what you can do is, rather than manage the actual stock and the property itself, you actually manage the letting agent, and the letting agent manages the stock. And it's a great way for you to actually be involved in property at a distance, because you've got a local resource available to you. Now, having said that, when you're managing letting agents, systems and good quality tools really become available. So what we do is we don't manage the stock, we manage the letting agent, like what I say, but we'll have tools and systems to actually apply the lettings of the letting agent. So it's kind of a hybrid strategy. So below 10, my suggestion would be definitely a letting agent, because you've got to get started. And as you build your business, then you get good tools which you then apply into your business.
And your confidence, no doubt, too.
Absolutely, confidence starts. I mean, if I'm completely honest with you, when I started 30 years ago, my confidence was a level 1, between 1 and 10. And then it got to a 10, which is actually a bit too much. So I always keep
I'm afraid mine's still at level 1.
Level 1 is it? Well, confidence increases then, you never want it to be a 10 in my experience. You always want it to be a 9, because at a 9...
A 9 and learning.
Yeah. 9 and you keep learning. Yeah, absolutely.
May I just ask?
Sure.
I mean, you said 1 to 10, right? So ratio, not your, your confidence level, but property level. Why would you say 1 to 10 property ratio? Why would you say that range?
Because at 10, so this happened to me when I was 25 years old. I got financially free, and when you're financially free, sometimes you can think you're invincible. The fact is, we are not invincible. And the worst thing a developer can be doing, because we're developers as well, as you're aware, the worst thing that you can be is have your confidence level at 10.
Not the confidence, sorry, the properties. So you said range of properties, right? So up to 10 properties you should be managing via an agent. Why did you choose that number?
Yes, so in my experience, what we find is up to 10 means that you got economies of scale.
Okay.
So once you've got more than 10, what you find is that at that point you need further systems, you need further systems there. Now, nothing wrong with self-managing, it's a choice. Yeah. So someone can self-manage. My view is...
Wouldn't you say that it's easier to self-manage less property? Like, let's say an accidental landlord, full-time job, gets into property accidentally, inherits the property, whatever it is, is it better that they hand over X percentage a month? I don't believe it is. To someone, or should they educate themselves, given that you're training as well? Should they not educate themselves? Should they not use the resources available and look for a software solution, which inevitably the agent is using anyway, and the agent is just bolting on 10% or whatever they've got? Because I can assure you now there's plenty of solutions, but more importantly, there's other services like rent guarantee, there's other things that alleviate that confidence you're talking about. I don't think it's down to a confidence, this grey area. I think it's you expect that's the norm. It's not the norm anymore.
Okay, Dev, let me just stop you there, because your next question
Sure.
is probably going to let you expand on this subject. Sure. So I think what I would say is this. For Kam, I'm going to ask a question which again relates to this business of managing agents and software. So I'm going to ask it to Kam, but then that'll give you the opportunity to come back in on your software platform. So Kam, do the panel think it's wise for a buy-to-let investor to manage his or her own properties themselves, or perhaps do away with the managing agent and rely on some of the property management software that's currently available? Now, we touched on that in Dev's first question. In other words, he took issue with the fact that do you or do you not need a managing agent? Let's just presume for a moment that the general consensus is you probably would need at this stage a managing agent. But how do you judge that choice between the managing agent and the software? Is it a matter of getting to so many properties? Is it a matter of personal choice? Is it a matter of geography, physical contact with the agent, relationship, or what? Sorry, I've exaggerated the question there, but
it's a great question. No, it's to be fair, it's a question that gets asked a lot. So first of all, yes, you've got to be part of the conversation in terms of understanding how letting agents work and so on. Now, we use software, so it's a personal choice. To answer your question directly, it is a personal choice. Some people like to manage, self-manage. Some people like to create a business. So my point is, if you're creating a business where the business, you're minimizing your time, the letting agent is much more than the software. So we have software, we use software. So software is valid, we use software, but we'll only use certain parts of the software. So, looking at the financial side of things, looking at making sure that the letting agent is on track on what they should be doing, because at the end of the day, it's your personal responsibility. So you need software for that, yes. All I'm saying is that the letting agent really becomes a hub where you can do much more. So as I was saying earlier, the personal relationship in terms of the area, connections with tradespeople, which allows you to do more. That's what I'm saying. And paying someone 10, which we anywhere between 8 to 12% is a fair management fee, really mitigates a lot of risk.
Dev, I'm going to let you come back on that in a minute.
Sure.
For the moment, we're going to go to a break, so join me after the commercial break. Hello, and welcome back to part 2 of Property Question Time. I'm Stephen Galpin, and joining me are Kam Dovedi and Dev Singh. Welcome back, gents. Dev, I promised that you could come back on your software arguments.
Makes me sound so bad, doesn't it?
Well, it does, yes,
Yeah.
but let's hear it.
So I think with the software solution, and again, look, I'm not discounting Kam's point of view on this. Kam's got a certain experience and he's got, many years to hone that in and understand. One thing I do particularly like about Kam's viewpoint is he's using his systems to manage an agent. But I would say most people aren't in that position. they're not in a position to manage their agent, let them manage their property. So financially, this always comes down to the financial aspects as well, is why not look for a solution? And as you said, how do I know what solution it is? What do I do? I think sometimes it's trying and testing. I think that's fundamental of all of it. You can refer, you can look at reviews, you can do what you can make sure it's credited, but you need to try and test a solution that works for you. And it could be that what I'm saying, a software is just not for you. It's not for you. You work a full-time role, but you're completely fine managing 10 properties or 20 properties. What I have a problem with is if you don't look, the world has moved on massively, right? Let alone what happened to all, us all last year. There was always a need for a shake-up in the way that things were run. And that shake-up is happening now. And that's why so many people are entering the market space and giving viable solutions, not discounting the effort of a good estate agent or a letting agent. There is plenty around, but unfortunately there's more which don't justify what they charge. And that's my issue, is that just educate yourself, fill in the gaps, go to someone, get the training, understand what you're in for, and then find a solution that fits.
Okay, well, that's great advice from both of you. Thank you both very much for that. Dev, let's go to your second question of the programme. I'm about to purchase a property and been given the details of the energy performance certificate, which gives a rating of F. I realise that the rating is well below the hoped for A to B band, but wonder if this has any serious consequences with, for example, my lender, or is it simply a matter for me and my prospective tenants?
I would honestly say there is a issue in anything you're going to purchase nowadays. When EPCs were first introduced, people didn't understand where they were going, but there needed to be a logical reason.
Just that pretty little coloured graph, wasn't
Absolutely, and even the agents I used to talk to didn't quite understand where it was going, but clearly we have a whole movement, by 2025 with emissions to hone in and make things as efficient as possible where we can. EPCs will do that. If you're stepping into a property that's got an F rating, you're going to have problems coming forward. You're going to not only have tenancy issues, because the tenants are going to live in that property, pay extortionate bills because it's not insulated properly, or the double glazing isn't double glazing, it's single glazing, whatever the situation is. You're going to incur costs to have to bring that property to a certain level. And if you're purchasing something, I'm not saying that you shouldn't, because I think Kam's looking at me and I think he would thrive on finding something that needed work done, right? So you would be able to make a lot of a higher return, add value, higher return for your property. But you should absolutely not be taking something at this EPC situation seriously. As far as the lenders are concerned, absolutely they're going to have restrictions coming in. Now, I can't vouch for that, but it's the logical next step. They will not be able to lend, or they will restrict lending in certain criteria, just as they do now. So there's no way that it won't affect you. So stepping into something without negotiating a price to bring that up to standard is something that you shouldn't be doing.
Well, my view is that actually we love FNG properties with FNG ratings, because what you find is there's always lending available. Yeah. And actually you're quite right, traditional lending, they won't lend on FNG ratings. However, there's short-term finance, people got savings and cash as well.
Sure.
And you can jump in where what we're actually doing is we're getting a discount. We're getting a discount in real terms of a property like for like on the same street in the same area. So what you've actually done is you've bought a property that actually needs work on it. And to be fair, you actually have been helping the community as well, because what you've got to do to that property, of course, is to bring it back into habitable good condition. And it doesn't take too much, to be fair, to take a property from an F, moving up another level. So simple things like putting in a gas central heating system if it hasn't got one, or putting in, as you mentioned, the single pane glass, making it double glazed, or adding loft insulation. So there are some really sort of simple things, yet really necessities for your tenants, for them to actually need.
Those are all expenses.
Yeah, absolutely, because you bought the property at a discount. We add the expenses in, you've added the value.
He's buying it at a discount, which is great.
Buying discount. And I would advocate that to anybody, because why would you buy at full market value? That's very retail. Why not, create a life where, you can make money from this, you can have a better life, you give your tenant a nice quality property. I mean, I don't know how many, I'm sure you've seen properties where, how tenants live. It's shocking, some of the places they live in.
Absolutely.
What you can absolutely do is provide a good home for someone. I mean, at the end of the day, we think about it, this is a real business. Whether your intention is to help people or not, you can't but help people, because the money becomes a byproduct, or maybe money is the main thing for you, or maybe it's your byproduct. Either way, you end up helping the community, you end up helping the tenants, because what you've done is you've taken that property where it's the lower rating and you've moved it up by doing a good refurb, and that's how we do it.
But Kam, your modus operandi is to take property and add value.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Right.
Yes.
But would you recommend that sort of ethos for a first-time investor or somebody new to the business?
Absolutely, 100%. Everyone needs to start somewhere. So why would someone want to waste money when they can actually get started correctly?
Simplicity, I suppose.
Simplicity, absolutely. Simplicity, jump in. Of course, you've got to learn what to do. That needs to be said. You've got to get it right, because it's a risky business when you don't. Of course, we all know that. You've got to get it right. You jump in, you get it right, and you make money from this, and you have a better life. Why not?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, Kam, we're now going to move on to your second question, which is this. It's about investing in central London. So, although this person is in Hong Kong, I think some of the possible answers we're going to get here could apply to many people and be of quite a wide interest. I currently live in Hong Kong, and looking forward to the future, I'd like to commence investing in property in central London. Good investment, I think. If you can't see the telecom tower, don't do it. That's my ethos. Okay, or outward from there if the experts think it's a good idea. I would welcome any advice on what to look out for in terms of difficulties for a non-London resident potential owner.
So it comes back to thinking about the best quality at the lowest price. So think of it like, I'm using another one of my analogies. So think of it like a pebble that you're throwing into the water. There's a ripple effect, isn't there? So what you'll find is your best discounts, the most cost effective, is as the ripples get from the centre outwards. So if someone's looking to invest in central London, my view is invest not in the centre, but invest in that ripple effect. So your zone 2, 3, 4, 5, 6s will work even better in terms of return on investment.
Okay.
Your cash on cash return, your yields, your gross yields, the numbers work much better in these ripples, in my experience anyway. Yeah. So I would urge that person to have a look at that. So if they're asking what's the risk, that's one of the risks. Secondly, let's assess what's going on in terms of rental demand. So if that your viewer is looking to invest in that property where they're looking to rent that property out, right now we know because of COVID-19 and so on, there's been a big shift in terms of renters moving from centres, moving outwards. And I suppose all these online scenarios have really taught us, it's made us wiser, hasn't it? That actually you can live in a slightly different way. You can be more cost effective.
It's certainly opened our minds, hasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. So I would suggest have a look at that.
Well, that's enough. I think that's good advice.
Right.
What do you think, Dev?
I understand why Kam's said what he said. I think there's plenty of other opportunities around the country to do so. But if this specific person is looking into London, you need to understand why they're looking at London. London is a beacon for investment. It's London, so it's what comes with that investment that sometimes people rely on, and they think it's a sound investment. It's like any other city in the world. But doing it for a return on investment isn't necessarily the right thing to be doing, because you're looking at not a very great yield. You've obviously got to manage that property. Again, logistically, he can't manage that property from day to day as such, without relying on other sources, technical solutions anyway. And agencies in London, they will charge a higher percentage in some ways to manage your property on your behalf. So it really reduces it down. So I think this person is looking because they're excited about the prospect of it. But there is better options out there.
Well, London has a huge sort of attraction, especially to people overseas, doesn't it? And I suppose it's the logical place to stick the pin when you're deciding where to invest. But I mean, I do agree with you that at this particular point in time, properties in Manchester and Birmingham are probably showing much higher yields. But
London is always going to be London.
But London is London, and
Yeah,
you'll always find a tenant, and you'll always find a buyer at the end of it, won't you?
And it's a strong market. It's always going to go up.
Yeah, so it depends on what the person wants to do. I mean, the ripple effect in London absolutely works. I mean, in my experience, investment in London is good, but you've got to think about the return on investment, all the things we discussed. And also, let's be honest, it can sometimes be a culture thing. You know, many cultures will look for new, shiny buildings, and some accountants will also say, "Oh, that's a great investment over the next 25 years." But what we're doing is something slightly different. We want it faster, sharper, sooner, and we're looking for the best, like I say, the best quality at the lowest price. So there's different views on this. I've got a good friend where, you know, he's bought this lovely property, really shiny, showing me the brochures, and I said to him, "How much money are you making out of this?" He said, "What do you mean? I pay the mortgage and I top it up." At the end of the day, you know, sometimes you just got to keep your mouth shut, haven't you?
Yep. Okay.
Enough said.
Well, there we are, gents. That's all we've got time for today. So big thank you to Kam Dovedi, investor and founder of Premier Property. Thank you. And to Dev Singh as well, founder and CEO of RentiD. Thank you for joining us. So thank you for watching. I'm Stephen Galpin. Join me again next time on Property Question Time.